I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence, then let them in, chalk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, I to stay on the go. I can play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me, then I double up again under their nose. None of them cold, they just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to the one if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close, I let them think that they got me, but what do you know? I had them beat before we ever spoke, I'm ready for smoke. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me.
Hey, how's it going there, Louis?
Hello.
How you doing?
Hello. Doing well today.
Yeah, about yourself?
Good. Welcome to Startup on the Blocks. I'm gonna try a different little view here. Yeah, we're glad to have you on tonight for Startup on the Blocks, and welcome to the folks out there and on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're glad to have you. Louis, the first thing we're going to share some information with the audience about Startup on the Blocks for the new folks that may not be familiar with it. And you've attended at least one event, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm excited. This is my second one, I think now. Yeah, and
Okay, good.
Happy to be tapped in.
Yes. So we were glad to have you on as a participant, and now we have you on as a guest speaker. We like to have folks that are out there in the startup ecosystem. And I think your company, you participate with folks like, after they get their seed funding. But with Startup on the Blocks, we start working with people at the idea stage, and as long as they need help, we're willing to kind of help them go through all the life cycle of building a successful startup.
Wonderful.
First off, I kind of want to let everybody know we're going to be down in Tampa next week, and the Synapse Summit, and so that should be an exciting event. And so we're going to have a booth down there, and there are going to be a lot of startup founders down there. There's going to be a lot of investors down there, and so we got invited to participate and support the startup ecosystem. So we're looking forward to that event. I hadn't actually ever attended Synapse event, but I have attended like the Emerge Americas, like down in Miami. That event is coming up in March. I believe maybe April, I'm not sure, but it's coming up real fast. And that event and this particular event, they both have startup showcases. And so you can apply to be in their showcase. And if you get selected, you get like 4 free tickets and a booth, that where you can actually showcase what you're doing with your startup. And the Emerge Americas, they have a pitch competition at the end of the event for the startups. So that's I'm not sure what they're doing down at Synapse since I hadn't been there before, but it's definitely a good opportunity, and it's part of the type of events that happen within the startup ecosystem. Yes, so you're our guest tonight, and you're going to provide us this little crash course in marketing, and so we're looking forward to hearing about it. But first, I want to bring your attention to that heart up in the upper left-hand corner there. It talks about funding for founders of color. And so I'm not sure what the figure is now, but, about a year ago, it was at 5 billion. So, yeah, so it's just a big opportunity out there for founders of color that learn the best practices for building their startup. And then so when all these programs that they have for startup founders, training programs, pitch competitions, accelerator program, pre-accelerator program, you apply for these programs, but they help teach you stuff. But depending if there's a program for an accelerator, you have to know what those accelerators are looking for, And so Startup on the Blocks, we help you get prepared for those, accelerator programs, pre-accelerator program, because you have to know how to answer the questions uh, on those applications when you apply. So like even when you're applying for a pitch competition, they may ask a question about, that relates to the sales funnel. How much does it cost for you to acquire a customer? If you don't have a sales funnel, and you would never know what that a marketing funnel, you would never know what that number is. And so that's why we have people like you on to kind of help people, founders, learn the best practices. But we couldn't do it without our sponsors. We have pitch competitions. So Innisfree and The First, they've been helping us out with our pitch competitions, and I'm funding those so we can kind of introduce founders to the startup ecosystem. And then, our semifinalists and finalists in our pitch competition, we invite them to be one of our portfolio companies, and then we add additional resources to help them out to kind of move them along. And so that's how that works. And the Gulf Coast Minority Chamber, the Pensacola Chamber of Commerce, they're partners for us since we're located here in Pensacola, and they give free memberships to our pitch competition winners. And so and that's pretty neat because like the Pensacola Chamber, you get a lot of free things with your membership, and so that's a really good value for that. So Bantucola is our streaming partner, and Chris Hendricks, he's the one that's streaming stuff out to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So we really appreciate his support and partnership. And we refer our founders to the Small Business Development Center so they can kind of get help from there as well. And they also provide mentors for our startups. And Gulf Power, now Florida Power and Light, they've been one of our major sponsors, and we definitely appreciate their support. Yep, so we're excited. This is our 72nd event, I believe. So we've been doing this every week for about a year and a half now, and so we'll be here to help if you want, as a founder, and you want to network and meet people, and then that's why we have this event. So you can always know this is a place you can come to kind of get connected and meet other founders. And I'm always on the networking, and we encourage more people to come and participate in the networking so you can actually connect. I've made some excellent connections through these networking events, and you get to learn about all the stuff that we offer startups and support startups with. All righty, so Louis, we have you here this week, and next week we have Amira, and with her, so you're actually a resource for startup founders. Your company, does marketing stuff and help the founders with that kind of stuff. But Amira, she's a founder, and so she's invented a math tutoring product. And so we want people to learn her journey. We want her to share her story about her journey. And I was in a meeting with her earlier this week, and she got accepted to an accelerator program up in Atlanta. And she was so excited. Yes, and I was telling folks last week, our nonprofit, we got a turn down letter for accelerator program for us. We had applied for accelerator program for our AI no code application. But you have to apply to have a chance and understand what the questions was. So we were excited for Amara, that she got accepted to a program. And so the significance of getting accepted in that program for her, now she's a part of the ecosystem and she becomes a known quantity. So when she gets through that program, those people who run that program will refer her to other programs. Mm-hmm. And so the cycle begins, and now she's known in the startup community. She's got a reputation. They know how hard she's working on her startup, and so that's what's neat about that. So we get to hear her story next week, and so we this is our playbook, and so we tell anybody who's listening to um, this video right now, seeing this video, if you follow these 6 things, you can actually learn what it takes to get some of that money that's set aside for Black and brown and Black founders. But I guess I want to make it clear. I said there's between $5 and $10 billion set aside for Black and brown founders, but overall there's over $100 billion set aside for all founders. So there's plenty of money out there for startups and plenty of programs out there for startup founders to kind of help you along in your journey. So I'll this will be my last slide I'll share. But here locally, we're part of the Startup Social, which happens every first Tuesday. So the local folks definitely participate in that. We had one last week, and it was wonderful. And so we rotate that around to different startup resources, organizations here in the community. And also, I want to remind, we have office hours for our portfolio companies, but if you're on our, if you would like to reach out to me, you feel free to, and I can give you the link for our office hours if you have any questions as far as about being a startup. If you have questions related to your startup. So did you learn something new about Startup on the Blocks?
Definitely a little more. I love it. I didn't know you guys had that extensive a portfolio too, so that's amazing to see.
Yeah. And the best thing we have is that Vercel, our entrepreneurship coordinator, we have this platform, the Lean Stack platform for learning these best practices of building a startup. And so we just kind of got like a pre-accelerator package in it and an accelerator package in it. And so we're going to get training on that the week after next. So we'll be able to open that up for our portfolio companies, and then our next pitch competition we'll probably offer people an opportunity to participate in the second part of that, which is a paid part. But our founders don't have to worry about the cost of that. We get sponsors, to kind of cover that. And so we're always looking for sponsors because we want to make sure that our founders have the money and the resources they need to keep working on their startup. So Louis, I guess we met a couple of weeks ago when you attended Startup on the Blocks, right?
Yeah. I know we had gotten connected, I think, during the beginning parts of COVID. But we never got the opportunity to actually sit down and actually have a conversation. Just kind of the way, kind of the nature of the world at that point,
So, but do you remember what kind of how connecting? I guess we connected on LinkedIn, but forgive me, I don't remember when and why we connected. I don't know if you reached out to me or I reached out to you.
Yeah, I do remember. It was I had seen an article about you. They did a write-up in you. I think it was in I don't want to say it was Pensacola News Journal, but it was one of the tech journals out there in the Northwest Florida area. And as a UWF alumni, I try to stay as tapped into the network as possible. And I saw that, and I was like, oh, well, this is first off a Black man doing phenomenal things in the startup world. How else am I going to stay intact with the network if I don't meet as many of us out there as we can? So
yes.
That was actually how I found out about you and Startups on the Block.
Fantastic. So I'm definitely glad to hear that. So I guess the takeaway there is LinkedIn is definitely a way to connect with people.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so do you remember what you saw to for you to attend the Startup on the Blocks a couple of weeks ago?
Once again, LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, you had posted that Startups on the Block was doing an event, and for whatever reason, the divine intervention, call it God's will, just so happened to be popped up on my news feed, and I was like,
Okay, gotcha,
it's
gotcha.
about time I attend one of these.
Okay, fantastic. So these are things to kind of observe and how you get connected to things, and so we were. I was definitely excited you did when I reviewed your LinkedIn profile. I saw you were into some good things to to kind of help startup founders after they get their seed funding. But let's back up a little bit. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing, and what did you study in college, and why did you study that?
Yeah. So initially, mm, I guess I'll say initially I'm from Florida. Yeah, my father was in the military, so we did a lot of moving around with him being in the Navy, but
Okay,
ended up predominantly staying in Florida for the majority of my like adolescence, and then
okay,
eventually I went to the University of West Florida in Pensacola.
mhm,
I graduated in 2014 with a degree in business management and marketing,
okay,
and heavily involved in the entrepreneurship programs that were over there, as well as the executive mentoring program out there as well. And just really found that knack for what I wanted to do out of life, which was just honestly just be an entrepreneur.
gotcha.
And for me, a lot of it kind of stemmed with the idea of like, I want to start a marketing agency. I just don't know what I want to do with it yet.
Hmm.
So, um, what ended up happening was due to just random events and circumstances, I ended up moving to Seattle, Washington in 2016 during the summer.
Okay,
And at the time, I got a job in market research because I was like, all right, this is going to be the way to kind of break into the industry of marketing, figure out everything from the ground up. So
hmm,
started working in market research, really fell in love with that. It's like survey analytics, all the sitting around looking at data all the time, just trying to understand why people make certain decisions out of life. That really fascinated and excited me. So market research just kind of rolled itself right into that role.
so how would you unpack what marketing research is again?
I'd say the simplest way to express it, identifying why people make the buying decisions they make.
Okay, gotcha.
Whether it's actually like getting out there and doing the day-to-day foot traffic surveys, things like that. Now everything's more digital, moved online into survey paneling and panel design via questionnaires. Those random solicitations you'll get, it's like, oh, fill out this survey for us, and we'll send you $100 via PayPal or something like that. Um,
No.
Things like that. Like some people, but the thing was, like people like me on the back end, we were the ones who would write up these surveys and write up these
Okay, gotcha.
questions with the understanding and idea that the larger agencies or larger entities are really looking for data. They're really looking to understand their customer more. And at the end of the day, it's just trying to understand and identify um, both why they use their product and then subsequently why aren't they using the product if they're not currently.
Okay, okay,
And
okay. But
so coming out of that role, I'd really transitioned everything into consulting, and and for about almost 4 years, I was doing consulting for Microsoft in their partner network and working with them to understand basically the same things, but just from a larger multi-million and billion-dollar scale.
yes.
Um, and so right after, this is probably 2000, yeah, it was 2020. So I'd been there for about a couple years now and kind of figured out like the ins and outs of what it looked like to work for a larger giant. I had the random brainstorm idea. It was like, all right, I really want to help out like startups. Like
Yes. Hmm.
this is the world I want to live in. And one of these days, I want to develop an app. I want to do all these other sources and things like that. And I kind of took that same mentality, working from the ground up and figure out how to do it, and
So
decided to pop out and figure out what to do with startups from a marketing perspective.
okay, yeah. So like so this working with this partner area with Microsoft. So give me an example of some things you would do in that role.
Yeah, trying to explain as much as I can without giving away proprietary information.
Okay, gotcha.
Shouts
Yeah,
out got to respect the NDAs still,
yeah,
but a lot of what ended up happening in the roles that I worked there for Microsoft. So Microsoft has a partner network, which essentially is a for those who may not be familiar, it's essentially a group of individual vendors and individual sellers, as well as people who utilize this suite of Microsoft products, 365, that entire suite, Azure, any kind of cloud infrastructure,
Mhm.
all of these entities that are housed within Microsoft's products. They have a partner network to kind of keep those people tapped into everything that happens across Microsoft as well as across each of those companies. So let's say me, as Lewis, and Lloyd are Microsoft partners. I'd have the opportunity to see what he's doing on his side from a commercial perspective, as well as he's able to see what I'm doing on my side from a commercial perspective in the event that we want to like merge the two things and the two entities together to complete a project or
Okay.
complete a deliverable. So what I did on that side was I made sure that not only were the assets and any kind of deliverables, as well as any kind of actual tangible documentation that were hosted, as well as like delivered and presented on the sites. I made
Mhm.
sure that they adhered to all of Microsoft's policies, all of Microsoft's governance,
Okay.
as well as made sure that from a content perspective, they held the appropriate amount of data necessary and appropriate amount of copy necessary to really get that point across to each individual seller.
Okay. Yeah. So, like, I want to make this point is kind of outside of what we're doing. It's not really. It is inside of what we're doing here. Um, so, so Microsoft also, has programs for Black founders. But one of the things they decided to do is that was different than Google and some of the other ones. They decided to invest their money they're putting up into their partner network, their Black
Hmm.
partner network. So if you're one of their partners,
I
they
am.
will. Yeah. So yeah. So they actually have a program, and I don't know if you're actually trying to think how to say it. So they have a person that supports the partners, the
Hmm.
Black partner. So you have to like own like 51% of your company or something like that. So they
Hmm.
got a special program where they're making sure you grow.
Yeah, the BCPA or
Yeah.
Black Channel Partner Alliance.
Mhm.
Great initiative. Been a
Yeah.
huge fan of everything that's been developed out of that and what's still even to come. I know that
Yeah.
they just pushed out a round of funding. I think they were sending out 10K a company at the minimum for
Okay.
those who were applying and things like that. So like definitely one of the resources to get tapped into
Oh,
if you are a Black or Brown founder.
okay, fantastic. Oh, fantastic. So you left there and you started your own thing. So what you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I guess that's what made you do it. But what made you take the leap when you did?
Um, a lot of what kind of spurred I guess, the courage to take the leap when I did was really spurned out of whatever everything that was happening throughout COVID.
Hmm.
There was just kind of a mentality and a lifestyle change and shift that I wanted to kind of traject the rest of my life toward.
Hmm.
But a lot of it kind of dealt with, personal individual freedoms, both in my time as well as in my flexibility from a financial perspective.
Hmm.
Um, but also a lot of it kind of stemmed from the idea of just taking another chance on myself.
Good, good.
It had been a while since 2016 when I moved out here because I moved out to Seattle without a job, without friends, without knowing anybody here. It was just a pack up my car and drive across the country. And so, in an attempt to try to find that same kind of euphoric
Hmm.
wonderment, so to speak,
Yeah,
I decided to hop out and go be an entrepreneur.
yeah. So start up on the blocks. We're trying to build a community of founders that can actually help support each other and help each other grow and share things with each other. I think when we kick off our platform, the Lean Stack platform, well, people who we get access to that will we're part of our community on that, and then we can share information. But that's what the networking is actually for, to kind
Hmm.
of share and um, because it's just so many things out there, and there's no way any one person can know everything. So as you connect with people, they share information once they understand what what you're you're doing. And so it's and so yeah, I learn all the time, and so the more I learn, the more I have available to share, and that's the way it
Definitely.
goes with anyone. And so kind of like with um, my part of my story for this thing was I had taken advantage of a lot of these programs, and I became aware that all these programs were out there over the last 10 years. And I said, well, if you want to do your own thing, you need to be aware of the resources that are available to you. And one of the distinctions I think is hard for people to understand. So you have your marketing company, and so the question you and I had a conversation, I guess last week. The the question is, so you're a black founder of a traditional marketing company, and there's some resources that are available to you. Um, but I guess the point I want to make here, if you came up with like a way to scale out your products and service on a scalable fashion where
Hmm.
everything is automated, where people can just use it, and you can keep bringing on more clients, then you have what you call a startup that's and that's a high growth potential startup where if you're using technology to scale. And those types of startups actually are the ones that there are the most funding out there for. Now
Hmm.
there are some grants out there for traditional small businesses now, but there's more funding out there. The majority of that funding I said that was set aside is for scalable startups. So I think what I want the audience to understand, you can have a traditional company like Lewis that we offer marketing service and consulting, but within that company, or you need to spin off a product or service that's scalable, that's totally automated, that people can do, and you can brand that as something that's scalable, that we're and even maybe create another company for that product or service, and then that way you can actually get the support from these major companies, and you can participate in some of these training programs. You can participate in these pitch competitions where you can win money. I mean, on and on. That's where the action is building something that has the capability to grow fast.
Hmm.
Yeah.
100% agree on that. I know we
Okay.
were having in that convo we had last week. It was really like, man, I need to turn this into an app. Like, like how do we switch that over?
Yeah.
Because that's honestly, a lot of what I'm noticing is that's been, I know everyone's said it for years now, like how automation has definitely changed the landscape of both human resources as well as like the workforce.
Hmm.
And so this not the sooner we can outsource jobs into automation, but more so like the sooner we can understand just exactly how much of an impact automation has been having on the roles, and then how we can translate that into a shift in, from my opinion, what black and brown founders can be doing, and what that looks like into the future.
Hmm. So I see you got a comment from Facebook here. You probably got several. I just noticed that. I just read over here. I'll share this with them. But the
Yeah.
reason why I want to share this one, a lot of times people think you have to be local, and in order uh, um, to um, to actually take advantage of your service. But your service that you offer is not. You help startups all over, not just in Seattle, right?
Oh, 100%. My previous two clients from my last projects I was working with were in Korea and in the UK. So I definitely help and work with people globally.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I, I think that's all I want to kind of pick your brain on before you got into your presentation. But I want to go ahead and give you as much time as you need to get through that, and the folks can post their questions, and then we can make sure we leave some time at the end there for questions. So we got until like 8:15, but we normally try to end close to 8. So, but yes. So just take your time, and the audience, definitely go ahead and ask questions You don't mind if I ask a question during the presentation, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm happy to pause, stop, repeat,
Yeah. So
reiterate anything that you need. Yeah.
let me just look and make sure to see if I, let's see. Just trying to read these comments here. Okay. Yeah. Looks like Hope has the questions. Let's just kind of see what she's asking here. She said, would others who want to support a founding startup help by applying as a gift? I'm not sure what Hope means by that, but I would have to kind of Hope if you can clarify that question, and we'll try to tackle it. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what you mean, but there is a lot of programs out there that there are alternative ways to fund a startup. So, Hope, this is maybe an example that may be related to your question, but I'm not sure. So, there is, like, how you have wedding showers, baby showers. So there are startup showers, that
Mhm.
where you can help, fund fund a um, fund a startup. You can have a startup need registry like Amazon gift cards. So there's a black female founder that actually created that startup, where you kind of a a startup funding registry.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So, but I just point that out. But I'll let you take it away on your presentation, and audience, definitely get ready to ask some questions.
definitely, definitely. And I appreciate you again, Lloyd. Thank you so much. Um, again, um, my name is Lewis Newkirk here with Team of Marketing, and I'm going to be giving you guys a little presentation. This is a actual part of my marketing crash course that I go through with startup founders, particularly and typically in the SaaS community, but I do also work with e-commerce as well. But this is actually the second day in my 5-day crash course on marketing, and essentially all about how to launch a product. So um, you might be missing a little bit, which is the day one piece, but day two here about building a funnel is something that's equally as valuable. So without further ado, go ahead and get it started for you. Once again, hi, my name is Lewis Newkirk, CEO and Marketing Strategy Lead here at Team Marketing Agency. I've been a business growth and digital marketing consultant for about 6 years now. I've gotten experience working with Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies, from Microsoft to Costco. Even did a little work with Under Armour as well. I've also helped out small mom and pop businesses, startups, and nonprofits. And a little interesting fun fact about me, I've been to 37 states. I knocked out a good number of those on my back and forth trips from Florida to Washington, but also did my fair share of traveling around as a kid. So a lot of what I'm going to talk to you today about is very centric around two different things. First and foremost, what exactly is a marketing funnel? And then second, informing you about the 8 steps toward creating your own dedicated marketing funnel to kind of build the direction of your marketing campaigns. So grab a notepad, grab a pen. It's going to be a pretty robust lesson today. So feel free to let me know if I need to slow down a little bit, or if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. I'm happy to pause and address them as they come up. So first things first, what's a marketing funnel? One of the very first things you have to think about anytime you run a business is exactly the first thing. How do you grow a business? According to legendary marketer Jay Abrams' strategy on business growth, there are only 3 ways that you can actually do this. You have to either increase the number of customers that you have, you have to increase the transactional value per customer, or you have to increase the number of transactions from each customer. Now, those of you who may not know who Jay Abrams is, uh, business executive, conference speaker, author, basically the father of marketing. This guy's been around since the early 70s, and he knows a thing or two about growing a business. And each of these 3 things are essentially the lifeblood of your business. The number of customers that you have coming in your door or coming to your website, just exactly how much each person is buying, another metric and thing that you should be tracking on a day in and day out basis. And then not only that, just the number of transactions each customer has, that lifetime dedicated value. That's something that you need to either increase or change that based upon the types of numbers and KPIs that you're seeing. So within that, we're really left with the question, well, if these are the ways to grow a business, then how do we get it started? And a lot of that stems itself from a marketing funnel. A marketing funnel is an intentional path that you take your prospects through as they go from not being aware of your product or not being aware of your service to at the end coming out a happy and successful customer or client or user, depending upon what you're doing, that then refers you to other people and can continue that life cycle of your business. So within the sales funnel, there are 4 parts. There's an awareness stage, an interest stage, a decision stage, and finally that's action stage. Within that awareness stage, this is entirely where you make your brand known. They know about your product, they know about your service, they know, exactly what your intentionality is behind whatever it is that you're doing. This is really where you find those types of customers. Stemming off of that awareness stage, we're met with the interest. Now that the people who have known about you a little bit, they kind of get to that opportunity to engage with you a little bit more. They really get to see your brand in action. That could be something like liking, commenting, subscribing to like a newsletter or something like that. But this is really where you begin to start the interaction between you and the customer from more of that, from less of that 5,000 to 1 to break it down to that like 5 or 10 to 1 type of interaction. Moving on, move to that decision time. This is exactly where, in the phase that your potential customers get as close to a decision about whether or not they're going to purchase from you than ever. These prospects typically here are more qualified, as in they've essentially been vetted through your funnel and they've got to know you. Maybe they've subscribed to a newsletter, and within that newsletter, you send out, some discount or some code in order to get them to buy or purchase something small from you. This is right at this area where they're making that decision like, all right, I've enjoyed my interaction with this person and I begin to trust them. And I think I'm ready to actually transition into spending money with them. And finally, that action stage. This is it right here. It's either they buy or they don't. By now, they've gone through the entire funnel. They've gone through all of the sales processes, all of the emails, all of the messages, all of the continual interactions with them. And by the time they're at this point, they're either ready to buy or they're not. Now, while this is a very simplistic way of looking at a sales funnel as we move and migrate from reaching out to a number of people here, attracting them in, bringing them through that awareness stage and down interest, decision, and action, and eventually hitting the mark of selling whatever product or service you have to offer, it really doesn't really take into consideration exactly what happens at each one of these stages, as well as what happens in the steps of building out that funnel. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. This is part 2. That's 8 stages toward building your next sales funnel. And again, please let me know if I'm going too fast or if I'm going too slow. I'm happy to slow things down, talk a little more, and elaborate a little bit more as things appear and as things pop up. So like I said earlier, there are essentially 8 steps that you'll need in order to create a stellar marketing funnel. As listed, you're going to first and foremost define your product market fit. You're going to choose a traffic source. You're going to figure out your lead magnet and offer it. You're going to figure out an entry point offer that core product, move on to your product maximizer, build your landing page, and then finally create a return path to get them right back into your funnel. So determining product market fit. So you need to know your customers in order to effectively market to them. So you have to start by asking these questions to get a better understanding of your product market fit. First and foremost, who is your ideal customer? What are their demographics? What do they like? What are their core values? What do they do on a day-to-day lifestyle? You have to really know and understand, the types of things that keeps them up at night, how they want to be a better version of themselves, or what that the best version of themselves looks like. And then finally, what does that look like using your product to get them there? You have to know and understand, what their frustrations and their pain points are. What are they going through on a day-to-day basis that your product or your service solves? What are the things, the roadblocks, the hindrances, the everyday nagging issues that get in their way of success? You have to understand and know exactly what their desired after state looks like. what's success to your customer? What I might deem as successful for me and my company may or may not be the same thing as you deem successful for you and your company. And that's certainly the same as we're all independent people with our own ideas of success. What do they want to achieve? Are they somebody who chases their ego, chases the status? Are they trying to make $1 million off your product or off of your service? Like, these are kinds of things that we have to ask ourselves. What does it look like from success, and what does it look like the change and transition and transformation that your product provides your customers? And finally, how does this product actually transitions them away from their problems and toward their success? If at the end of the day all your product does is just put a band-aid on a broken arm, well, then you might not have identified a product market fit exactly for your customers. Step two is going to be choosing a traffic source. So you may have heard the old adage that no one has a traffic problem because you can always buy traffic. Um, Day in and day out, I talk with clients, I talk with people who say, "Man, I wish I just had more people to look at my site," or "I'm not getting enough people coming to my site to buy things," or "Oh, the reason I'm not doing well is because I'm not getting enough people over there." Well, honestly, and at the end of the day, while funding may be an issue, um, you really can always buy traffic. There are a number of different traffic sources that you can find or buy outside of just the organic ones. Organic meaning they directly come to you via something that wasn't purchased or bought. There's opportunities in email marketing, social media advertising across LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I didn't even put YouTube or TikTok or Snapchat or the other social media platforms that are out there. Search and display advertising across Google and Bing, and content marketing that you should be doing no matter what via blogging or utilizing these social media platforms, or even just attending and hopping on podcasts with people. Organic social media, SEO. There are tons of different places and tons of different ways to get traffic to your site. But you definitely have to keep a lot of things in mind whenever you pick a traffic source. First and foremost, you want to make sure that you're picking a source where your customers are located. There's a chances are that your customers play favorites. I myself, I'm more of an Instagram person over Facebook. The same can be said for a lot of people in my demographics. So um, whether your people are on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, these are things you need to know. And appropriately, you should choose a traffic source that fits that. And lastly, it's also excellent that you master one traffic source before you decide to use multiple. Buying traffic across different traffic sources is good when you've already established, the baseline and everything that you need to know. Everything from your customer front, back, sideways, up, down, left, right. If you know your customers, then you should know exactly where they are. And 9 times out of 10, that means knowing how to reach them on the one platform before you decide to hop over to another. Step three is creating a lead magnet. So a lead magnet is an irresistible bribe that kind of gives a specific chunk of value to a prospect in exchange for just contact information. Think of it like getting an email or getting a phone number. When you make your own lead magnets, make sure that your lead magnet is something that provides a quick win for whomever it is you're trying to put out there. You want to be able to provide tremendous value, like in that content that you're putting out. You want to do that far in advance before you even expect them to do anything from a purchasing perspective. And lastly, you really need to make it specific. With that offer, with that lead magnet, you want to be able to solve a very specific problem in the shortest amount of time that generates the highest quality of both lead and value for that individual. So a quick and easy lead magnet in order to exchange for an email could be something like hopping on a 5-minute video webinar that tells them exactly how to install a Facebook pixel into their tracking system somehow. And then you create a PDF off of that. You send them a little video and you just say, "Hey, these are step by steps, really quick, really 5 minutes, something that you can do," and boom, we're all set up with the Facebook pixel. Or it's a template on how to write Facebook copy for an advertising or anything like that. Something that provides a quick win and is super specific and solves a very specific problem. Step four, that entry point offer. Now that you've got that lead, it's time to turn them into a customer. The entry point offer is that irresistible, super low ticket offer that's usually between like $1 and 17, $20. Marketing number is usually like 17 or 47 or some number that ends in a seven because that's just good for marketing. And studies do show that people tend to buy it randomly place numbers comparative to those that end in five and zero. Um, but that gets your customers in the door for a purchase. So there are tons of different entry point offers that you could put out there that kind of tie back into what you offered initially in that lead magnet. They can be physical products, books, steeply discounted initial services. They're irresistible because they're super low cost, and typically these be things that end up breaking even, or even sometimes as a back end provider that you end up going not necessarily negative in, but sometimes even on the red. But the point is you're just always trying to provide value before you ask somebody to do something. It sets the tone in a relationship that gets you and your customer off on the right foot, and really says that you want to help them and you want to provide service and value and yourself to them before even asking for something else in return. As long as you over deliver and provide immense value in your lead magnet and entry point offer, your customers will be highly interested in whatever you're offering here in your core product and your core offering. Now that you've gotten them basically down through the funnel, they're very much aware of you. They've already showed some interest in you. They made a minor decision on purchasing that, you know, entry point offer. And now we move on to the big things. We present your core offer. And there's a couple things you have to keep in mind. You don't always keep all the profits in your core offer. What ends up happening is, let's say for an instance, you have a core offer for $1,000 of one service or one product that you're offering. You may sell it for $1,000, but on the back end, what ends up happening is, maybe you invest some of that profit or invest some of that revenue right back into traffic and into your ads, because you may have a high customer acquisition cost, or who maybe it's something that you personally, like you with your own physical hands, didn't create, that you had to pay somebody else to create on behalf of your company or outsource the work for. This could be something else that kind of eats into their profit margins and things like that. So keep that in mind as you continue to offer and present your core offer, that sometimes it's best to not keep all the profits, especially if in the long run they end up growing your business. And also, you should also keep in mind that the core offers should still be something of value. Um, if you've already over delivered with your initial offers, you have to make sure that your core offer, or whatever it is you're expecting somebody to buy at a higher rate, provides at the bare minimum the same amount of value or more than that dollar value. So many successful companies usually don't start making true profit until here around this sixth stage, which is that profit maximizer. So profit maximizers are high price purchases that increase the average transactional value per customer. So remember those three ways that I talked about earlier? This was the one that I was referring to when I was saying increasing the average transactional value. These things come in various forms. Maybe it's an upsell. The most immediate upsell you can think about from back in the day, I don't think they do it anymore at McDonald's, but they'd ask you, do you want to supersize that? And I think because they got rid of the supersize option. But what that looks like is, it's taking your normal fries into a supersize, and then your drink into a supersize. And with that, it takes that price point up about 60 to 75 cents. It may not seem like a lot, but day in, day out, sale in, sale out, over the course of a year, over the course of 2 years, over the course of 5 years, like how much actual immediate profit and immediate upsell comes from that. It's very exponential. And then there's also the option for a cross sell. And these are types of things that you think about from like the frequently bought together suggestions that you see on Amazon. It's like, you buying a flashlight? Well, if this is the case, you may as well buy batteries with it. If you're buying stuff to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, usually what they have for you is, you bought the peanut butter, you gotta buy the jelly too. So think that's something that should cross your mind when you think cross sells. And then lastly, you should think about things like premium subscriptions. Um, People love to pay to make themselves feel special, whether that's like extra perks or early access or exclusive behind the scenes footage, or, you know, people love the idea of feeling like th- that sense of aura and that sense of air on the idea that I'm not necessarily better than other people, but it's more like I feel valued. I feel like I'm being attended to, and I love the extra attention. So all of these offers are just different ways to increase those customers' experience and thus increasing their lifetime value at the end of the day. So now that you've got all of your offers in order, it's time to make a place for your customers to actually learn about them, access them, and get be able to actually use them. So let's start with creating your landing pages. The landing page is essentially the web page where all the pertinent information about your offer lives. It's where you point your customers using ads and links in order to get them to do the actions that you need to take. So for a landing page, you must have these things. It's kind of non-negotiable at this point. You must have an attention-getting headline. The headline typically offers inspiration, or some sort of value add to what's going to be happening on the rest of the page. You need to have an image of your offer. People are very visual and they love to see the products before they buy. There's been studies shown that people who do in-store shopping, 9 times out of, well, okay, it's bad math, but it has been shown that they prefer to touch the tangible products before they buy, and the rate of people actually purchasing clothes whenever they get a chance to try them on is like significantly higher. You must make sure that you're having compelling copy on your page. You need to explain the benefit and the value that they'll get from using whatever product or service that you have. The more complex your offers that you have out there, the more copy that you'll need to have on your page. You'll need to have a below the fold opt-in form. If your landing page is really long and requires people to scroll up and down in order to see the whole thing, definitely put in two, one above the fold and one below. And you must also have a privacy in terms of service. You need to be compliant with all laws in all governing states and internationally. So I'd hate for you to get dinged or pinged or even fined for violating something like this. So once that customer makes a purchase, it's usually a great idea at this point to hit them with that immediate upsell offer. So on the back end of that landing page, for the people who end up purchase, you can show them an upsell page that has a thank you purchase for opting in. Um, People primarily use social media for entertainment, so make sure your posts are engaging. Basic access instructions. So after, let's say, I'm sure we've all seen it where we bought something online, or we've downloaded an app or something, and it tells you the next thing that after we've downloaded says thank you, and here's the instructions on how to use whatever it is you're going through, or here's how to onboard. That's basically what that is. Um, that bridge to gap page where you explain to them how what they have currently is just a part of a larger whole. Let them know that the next offer, that's whatever you're going to send to them, is going to enhance whatever it is they're already using. Offer the opportunity to upgrade their purchase to the next level. If you offer different membership levels and they just bought in at the basic, offer them the opportunity at this point to upgrade their purchase to even that second or even that third tier. And finally, don't be too pushy. I think it goes without saying that people don't really like to be sold, but they like to be encouraged to take the task that we'd like them to do. And so lastly, what you end up needing to make at the final tail end of all of this is a return path. You need to give your customers a reason and a means to return to you for their purchases again and again and again. So that return path is a way to increase the number of transactions for each customer. It's a way to encourage your customers to come back in and bring a friend essentially to your brand. The return path brings customers back through varying different ways. So there's email marketing. You typically see this with a company who you've purchased something with before, and maybe a new holiday is coming up, or Valentine's Day is 4 days away, and I'm confident that everyone and their mother has gotten 1-800-Flowers email marketing campaigns, because I have definitely gotten a number of those simply for the fact that I used them to purchase last year for my flowers for my fiance. Um, so that's an example of a return path to get you back in there to buy back from that brand. There are exit offers. This typically happens if you try to unsubscribe from something or leave a channel. You'll see the opportunity for like, hey, don't go. If you decide to stay with us, we'll give you 20% off your next month of whatever it may be. You can continue to reach out to them organically on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, via social media, all these platforms. Loyalty programs. These are a great way to come back over and over again. Um, all of the fast food restaurants have them. Starbucks has them. There's a reason why you get stars on your Starbucks app whenever you purchase a drink. It's because they know if you continue to go back and back and back repeatedly to them, they kind of keep you within their ecosystem. And so that's an effective example of what a loyalty program looks like. You can have outbound sales calling. You can do ad retargeting for people who just pop in the site and don't purchase or buy anything. There are a number of ways that you can go back and forth with what a return path looks like and how to get your customers back to you. And with that, that's what a sales funnel is, and exactly how one looks kind of broken out along each step and the necessary components within it. Um, Here at Timu, we help guide our clients through a minefield of digital marketing, helping them thrive in a very fast changing world. We help to leverage their unique strengths and help them build a personalized roadmap to success. And we do this through a varying number of means with growth coaching and consulting, market strategy, digital marketing management, and some educational resources. I'd love it if you guys could check us out on social, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all Timu Marketing. And if you're ever trying to get in touch with me, there's nobody behind me. No, you're getting actually me talking and replying back on all these platforms as well as an email too. So you're not talking to a robot. So feel free to reach out to me there. And I'll leave this one up right here. But this is a QR code for those of you who aren't watching this on your phone. Feel free to grab your phone, pop in the camera, take a quick picture of that, and hop on the site. That's how you can get in touch with me. It's got all my contact information. Feel free to just reach out as you need to.
Great job, Lewis. I really appreciate you going through that step by step. I think that's probably my first time ever hearing the step by step processes. I've been in a training related to this, but I don't think I ever had anybody lay it out step by step like that. So that's really fantastic.
Yeah, I'm happy to help. A lot of people who I actually work in. So I know Lloyd said it earlier, but that I typically work with people who have received seed rounded or Series A funding. But I didn't start there. A lot of what I did was just helping people who just needed help, and so this was something they didn't know. And kind of a lot of what Timu has transitioned to since its inception was just like, all right, how do I help people who don't know what to do and need help?
Yeah.
And
Right.
what ends up happening is like people start missing steps and skipping steps, and
Mhm.
then they get to the end of it, and it's like, well, why didn't the thing that happened, or why did the result at the end of the day happen? And it's because you missed the things like in the middle. So I always I'm a very like process oriented person. I look at things like, okay, if you do steps 1, 2, 3, you should expect step 4 is coming next. And that's just like, if you start skipping around, it gets to be a lot.
Mhm. So it looks like we got a question from Hope. You see that?
Which traffic platform do you think is best to start with? Instagram, Facebook, a purchasing website? Uh, that is a question that depends on not just your customers, well, primarily your customers, yes. There's also a strong onus on what platforms are you strong with as an individual. If you don't plan on outsourcing this, because honestly, you can outsource almost every job as necessary. But if you as the individual are stronger on Instagram or Facebook, and you happen to notice that your people are more prominent on Instagram or Facebook, I would recommend that being the ecosystem that you live in. Though you may have a product that doesn't lend itself best to Instagram and Facebook. So there's a lot of factors that depend in that. But primarily, I'd start with the first thing you did, if you take nothing from this entire conversation, would be probably like one of my early slides with just getting to know your customer and understanding exactly everything you need to know about them. Because of that, I'm trying to see if I can find it. Yeah, it is. Boom. This will be the most important slide to help answer your question. Um, because first and foremost, I don't know whom you're targeting or anything about them, so I can't say which one would be best. But if you know these answers, like if you know their demographics, what they're interested in, what the transition between being unhappy to being happy looks like, you can really answer that question much better than I
Yeah.
could.
So like Hope, I believe she's trying to start a new business that's involved with personal care. She's creating personal care items like soap and stuff like that. And I'm not sure all the details, but so she's definitely new to the startup game, and
Hmm.
so. But but I can imagine when she started creating these products, she had somebody in mind that she was creating them for.
Yeah. Yeah, I see I think she just typed in the chat, women and men, it's based on beauty products. Um, I would say I would live in the meta. I don't want to call it the metaverse because that's an actual thing now, but in like the ecosystem of Meta. So that's Facebook and Instagram primarily. I would play in those spheres for your demographics. I get more specific on women and men, and I mean hone in on it all the way. Like women and men what age, women and men that live where, women and men of what ethnicity. Again, we're just talking back and forth here, but I would really hone in as much as you can on that ideal customer, so that basically when you close your eyes, you see whoever it is already ready to buy your thing, and you can tell me word for word about them.
Yeah,
Um, I would say Instagram and Facebook, and I would suggest living within it, but primarily a Facebook group for you and your product. Um, I would work on building out a dedicated like client list off the users on Facebook like that. Um, and there's probably also some email marketing and content marketing that can be done for you as well.
yeah. So when we look at the lean startup methodology and and on that lean canvas, the first area is your customer. So
Mhm.
what you do is you list all of your potential customers that type types that you might have. So you might have men, and then you might have women, then you might have um, you know women with children, or all these
Mhm.
different categories are your customers. But when you're getting started, you have to start with your lowest hanging fruit customer,
Yeah.
the customer that's most likely to buy first. And so that's really what the key is. And then you would build your funnels, all these things that Lewis talked about around that particular customer.
100%.
Yeah.
Um, I would. I wonder if I could. Well, me and you, Lloyd, we may have to have a combo about
Okay.
what gets sent out because I might be able to send them. I might be able to send Hope and anyone else who wants it along with the presentation. Something that might be able like of some assistance with helping identify like their customer and things like that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
because without a doubt that's the hardest part about not just starting a business but making sure that you find product market fit is
Yes. Yes. Yes.
like you can the number of times I've been back to the drawing board with offers and with products, services, like because you tried something, it didn't work, it flopped, and you're like, what happened? It's like, well, you didn't the things you said that you needed from the copy perspective didn't match what the avatar, what the customers experience or need or even talk about on a day-to-day basis. It's what you assume happens and what you assume, but well, we know what
So,
assuming does. So,
yeah. So I'll make another point is so like a lot of times founders will say, anybody and everybody will buy my product or service, but you don't have enough money to market to anybody and everybody. So you have to target your marketing to that when you're getting started to the lowest hanging fruit type customer, the customer is most
Hmm.
likely to buy it first. And so if you were trying to raise funds or get funding from a angel investor or friends and family, and you tell them your product is great, it's good for everybody, um, then they're going to say, well, how are you going to reach everybody? You have to kind of focus on a particular persona, a particular customer group first, and move ahead with that.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. There's the old. I've been seeing it more happen recently, where it's a very like singular minded focus. One
Mhm.
product, like one service, one
Mhm.
traffic source on the way to $1 million. Like as best that you can lean and like strengthen up, who or what your product or service is, who is buying your product or service. Um, that's the quickest way to essentially break out of that shell of everybody else and your entire essentially competitors.
So, so, so I think we definitely need to point this out. So there's two things I want to make sure people understand is when you're looking for funding to scale your product or service out, you have to know, and what you had in your slides is you had to know um, how much it costs to acquire your customers,
Hmm.
and then you have to know how what's the lifetime value of that customer, and so because that's you have to be able to answer those questions, but you got to get started, with this whole process. And when you build this sales funnel, you will learn what these values are.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then let's say you figure that part out, and now you don't your platform doesn't allow you to um, um, grow, then you need funding to grow. And but in order to get funding to grow, you have to be able to answer those two questions.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So that's important. But so what's the significance of getting your sales funnel up and running, um, Lewis?
Well, honestly, I know you had mentioned how like process oriented
Yes. Yes.
of an individual that I was, but like back in the day before Google Maps existed, what you people would, you know, old school whip out a map and they'd chart a course along
Yeah.
how they're going to get to point A to point B. And
Hmm.
essentially that's what a funnel is. It's a course or it's a path or it's the roadmap of how, at least the roadmap infrastructure
Yeah.
of how you get random strangers to buy your products.
Yes. Yes.
And so like at the end of the day, whether you actually build a funnel like deliberately or one happens to be built just out of randomness, it exists whether or not you know it's there.
Yeah. So,
And what ends up happening is if you end up not building the funnel and not intentionally building the funnel, you get these random acts of marketing or these random acts
you
of
can't predict how your company's going to grow. You know,
up and down, and
you
it's
can't predict. And
exactly.
so once you get your funnel, so let's say you do your funnel and you find out that your customer acquisition cost is $10 for each customer,
Hmm.
and that customer over a period of a year or less, they buy uh, $100 worth of product, and you see this through a lot of your customers that the average amount of products they buy over 6 months or a year is $100, and so so that $10 you spend, for every $10 you spend, you get $100 worth of sales.
Hmm.
So you got your prediction. If you spend $10 on advertising through your sales funnel, you're going to get $100 worth of sales. So if you spend $100, that's $1,000 in sales.
That's
So,
a
so
real side note. If you happen to know anybody who's getting like a 10x return on ad spend, I'd love to meet that person
okay, yeah. The
because
purpose,
that's
the
phenomenal.
purpose, yeah. So the purpose of that example is just to help people understand that you can predict your growth based on
Yes.
your ad spend if your sales funnel is properly built.
Yes.
That's
100%.
what the, and so then at that point, that's one of the things that makes you investable. Because investors know if they give you $1 million, that's 10, 10. You divide that by 10, that's 100,000 new customers. And
hmm
if each customer spends $100, that's 100 times, uh, uh, 100,000 customers. So that's what $10 million. If my math is right.
I
Yeah.
think, and I think one of the um, it might have went over some people's head, or they maybe just didn't catch it. But one of the things you said was the lifetime value of that customer.
Hmm.
So for me, one of the things that I think about, especially like from an evaluation perspective, is, you know, how long is the lifetime that this person is in your space and in your
Yeah.
ecosystem? If you're able to keep them with that full year, or if you're able to keep like that retention rate's very high, and you're not just churning through clients and churning through products and services
Yes.
to people.
Hmm.
Um, to be able to that's in my world, coming from working with a number of SaaS people, that's one of the figures that is highly sought after and highly looked at whenever we're looking for investing and things like that. It's just, how long are you really keeping these people around? Like, what's that
Yes.
retention rate?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, so I think you gave a really good lesson, and I think it's your presentation is going to be a real good resource for our founders, and they'll have the opportunity to connect with you to learn more. Um, and so, yeah, we look forward to doing business with you in the future, and just we were so excited to have you part of our network. So I just want to thank you. Any parting words for the audience?
No, I'm first off grateful to be here, Lloyd. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
I really enjoyed getting to present for people like this. And like I said at the beginning of this is part of essentially like a 5-day course that I present, on how to launch a product. I know Hope was an individual who said that they were, in the beginning phases of all this. And this is why I built my like course, um, was to teach people how to launch products and to teach people how to help get things out there. So this was day 2. Day 1 would probably be best for you, Hope, honestly, which is the competitive analysis, where you go through and understand exactly what's going on in your marketplace and with your customers and things like that before you get behind a computer and actually start putting things together. This kind of gives you the mentality and the framework to get you to where you need to be. So I'm happy to send that along to you guys as well, for something that gets sent out. But again, eternally grateful for being here. If you want to reach out to me, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, yeah, there's the link right there for the marketing crash course. Um, but again, it's a 5-day breakdown of everything that goes within, what it takes to build out a product. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, send me an email if you need to. My email is also there. And then if you just need to get in touch with me and you want to actually book a phone call, I do 22 minutes. I provide 22-minute phone calls where we don't talk anything sales related. It's legitimately two people, two humans sitting on a phone having a conversation about what's going on in each other's lives and business. So I'm happy to support you guys wherever you need it.
All right. Thanks a million. And we thank all the folks out there and all the different social media platforms for checking us out. And definitely check out our future events. We got a great speaker lined up for next week as well. And so we just follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we look forward to you being a part of our community on Startup on the Block. Bye bye, everyone. Thanks again, Louis. We'll see you. See you later.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Bye bye.